nonprofit religious organization, as a nonprofit religious organization, we want to be very careful. So it's not that we wouldn't want a business, but so it's not that we wouldn't want a business, but we take very carefully the desire. If a group will say, you know what, we're here for a purpose that really aligns with your mission, a purpose that really aligns with your mission. But if a business were to say, hey, we want to use your challenge course, if a business were to say, hey, we want to use your challenge course, we love our leaders to learn here. Christian organization. It's not that we wouldn't want an organization. It's not that we wouldn't want to do that. Really concerned about tax exempt status. Really concerned about tax exempt status. They don't really care what our mission is. They just care that we hold. They don't really care what our mission is. They just care that we hold. Well, that's tremendous that you do that. So we want to honor
going across the pool downs. The next one is Joy L. Going across the pool downs. The next one is Joy L. Retreats.
So these would be retreats during the year that we offer. So these would be retreats during the year that we just had this last weekend, and it was rescheduled due to pandemic, and it was we just had our father-daughter pandemic. And we just had our father-daughter like this. We might have 120 to 150 like this. We might have 120 to 150 who will come. Fathers and they just want to spend time with each other and get some. They just want to spend time with each other and get some growth, a great inspiration, some spiritual growth. In the typical fall, we'll have our mother-daughter and father-son. In the spring, we usually have our mother-son and father-son. In the spring, we usually have a mother-son. We also have retreats for elementary students. We also have retreats for elementary senior high students. We can have a homeschool senior high students. We can have a homeschool retreat. So these are opportunities where we'll provide all the programming. So these are opportunities where we'll provide all the programming. We'll be able to join individuals.
What kind of facilities? You have external. What kind of facilities for recreational activities? You have a lot of that. So the pool is probably the highlight. You have a lot of that.
So the pool is probably the highlight this time of year. Pretty cool. I call them donut which are pretty cool. I call them donut boats that you can go in archery. We have a 40-foot climbing tower. We have a 40-foot climbing tower. We have a couple long zip lines that archery is big. We have a pretty intense outdoor challenge course which allows for skills development as a group, which allows for development, basketball, of course, playground for kids. We have a water park, playground for kids. We have a water park, which is there's a lot of amazing activities.
I would certainly sound like now. I would certainly sound like now. The leadership all provided by the camp. Is that part of what the leadership all provided by the camp? Is that part of what the camp offers, or do you bring your own
group retreats? The church will come in. Sometimes the church will say, the church will come in. Sometimes the church will say, well, we need to provide professionals who've been trained to handle the climbing tower, professionals who've been trained to handle the climbing tower, want to do their own speaker, but if they want to do their own for their retreat. But for our retreat, they'll usually provide it for their retreat. But for our program, we'll have the activities. All you really need to do is show up. We'll have the desire to have fun. All you really need to do is show up.
Well, that's great. Well, look at the two group retreats, Joy L retreats. Well, look at how many group retreats, Joy L retreats. About how many of each of those?
Yeah, so our retreats, there's about 12 to 13 that we program throughout the year.
Each of them are spelled out when you go to the website. And each of them are spelled out when you go to the website. I was amazed how many Joy L retreats, types of retreats you have. How many, and every one of them has a what you need to know up front. And every one of them has a what you need to know up front to introduce you to that
bedtime reading there. Type of retreat. There's a lot of bedtime reading there.
Moving on across, you have summer camps. You mentioned to me before. Moving on across, you have summer camps. You mentioned to me before that you're really into your summer camps already. What do you offer as far as summer camps already?
Yeah, well, we have 8 weeks of summer camps. How's that work? We have bus transportation for all of the day camps. And we have bus transportation for all of the day camps. So from Waynesboro, 2 stops in Hagerstown right here in Greencastle, 2 stops in Hagerstown right here in Greencastle, and Mercersburg a couple weeks. And so a lot of parents will use this. A lot of parents will use this. They need the place for the kids to go to the day camp. They need the place for the kids to go to the day camp.
The participants and events through the summer, they all pretty much local. Or events through the summer, they all pretty much distances away. Or some from
well, our day camps are, I'd say, well, our day camps are, I'd say, but for our overnight camps, and we have a variety. But for our overnight camps, they will come from further away. They will come from variety of stretches in Maryland, kind of up the northern railway in Virginia, Maryland, kind of over into Lancaster County, over into Lancaster County, Huntington County, West
and as I look through that pull down, and as I look through the content or theme of each camp is geared for a specific theme of each camp is geared for a specific age group.
What I call elementary camp. Yeah, we have 4 weeks of what I call elementary camp. Senior high, we have really focus on training weeks. Senior high week, which we really focus on training leaders. Then we also have our wilderness camp. This is a smaller program. Then we also have our wilderness camp. This is a smaller
not quite as convinced about the pandemic and all that's going on.
Really like the pandemic and all that's going on. I really like the idea of being able to send their kids down to that. But there's some great skills and training there. Some of the campers last week were so excited to talk about. Some of the campers last week were so excited to talk about how they learned about building fires, purifying water.
That sounds pretty interesting. And then you get all the outside activities. Pretty interesting. And then you get all the outside activities you have available. It's a pretty good week for some young people, right? It's a pretty good week for some young people, right?
And how can we get outside and do things safely during the pandemic? How can we get outside and do things safely during the pandemic? Fresh air, fresh people are realizing that good fresh air, fresh
and that's one of the best things about camp.
There's a lot of outdoors.
And that's one of the best things about camp.
Some of the things that we normally benefit from that we can't tap into this summer.
We have a beautiful air conditioned tap into this summer. We have not air conditioned this year because we're leaving on all the exhaust fans this year because we're leaving on all the exhaust fans. So it's for safety.
The air really fresh.
It's not for safety.
It might be.
Well, it's not as cool that size with those many offerings. There's got to be that size with those many offerings. There's got to be a pretty good size staff. I would think. And if you look through the webpage, how many are on staff to sustain the camp? How many are on staff to sustain the camp?
And then you look at the Bible Adventure camp, and then you look at the Bible Adventure,
typically just over about 20 full-time positions. We have typically just over about 12 to 15 that are seasonal. We have about 12 to 15 that are seasonal for the summer. During the school year, between 60 and 70 we bring on between 60 and 70 college-age summer staff.
That's great. One of the questions I was thinking here is, one of the questions I was thinking here is, churches that provide support, or how are you supported? Churches that provide support, or how are you supported to provide
those regular commitments from churches who support this ministry? Joyle's a church, non-denominational ministry. Joyle's we have a variety of different churches that support us. We have a variety of different churches that support us as well. There's a lot of individuals that support us. And one of the things that we started doing about 16 years ago, and one of the things that we started doing about 16 years ago, and this is for a family who wants to send their children to summer camp, but for whatever reason, send their children to summer camp, but for whatever reason, that there will be finances available. So last summer, there will be finances available. So last that was given out. There's just about $60,000 that was given out. Rarely will someone need the full amount covered. Now, rarely will someone need the full amount covered. What's kind of interesting is this year, we're giving out funds to just about the same amount. We're giving out funds to just about the same amount of people. Was $97 this summer, whereas last year was $97 this summer, whereas last was just about $200. The average need was just about $243. I found this to be very interesting,
especially with the shutdown and people not working. Especially with the shutdown and people not working.
Because we've found this quite curious. What we've asked is that we've found this quite curious. Discretionary spending that families would normally have to do.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I understand that. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. So you've got how many on staff now at the camp?
Just over 20. How many on staff for our year-round? Just over 20.
But even though you've got those, you still use volunteers. But even though you've got those, you still use a couple volunteers.
A lot of volunteers.
A couple volunteers.
In fact, just before I came down to the studio, in fact, just today's one of those days where we have some retired. Today's one of those days where we have some retired men who come out and every week on the same day.
Is that right?
And there's some community as well. There's some community as well. They enjoy having coffee together. They enjoy having lunch together. We have year-round. This last year, just over 1,100. This last year, just over 1,100 volunteers who help us every week in the Bible.
So, how many different areas of the camp? You mentioned how many different areas of the camp? You mentioned the Bible facilities. And that's the one. That's one where actually that's the one. That's one where I read actually kids from school. I read in the original intent was somebody would go into the schools. The original intent was somebody would go into the schools and talk about. And of course that doesn't work that way anymore. But then now that doesn't work that way anymore. But something now that says there was students at schools are allowed to come out of the schools to another location. Are allowed to come out of the schools to another location for that same ministry.
It was a 1952 Supreme Court decision. Every state in the union has a slightly different interpretation. Every state in the union has a slightly different interpretation. For up to 36 hours during the
school year, students 36 hours during the school year from their public school classrooms for religious instruction. From their public school classrooms applies to any religion. It's not just this applies to any religion. It's not just and so what parents will do is they'll allow their children. Parents will do is they'll allow their children. They'll give them permission. This has been a very powerful program. This has been a very powerful. When the Bible was taken out of schools in 1965, because when the Bible was taken out of schools in 1965, we still need spiritual education. Parents realize.
Well, we see the evidence of what happens when you remove that. Well, we see the evidence of what happens when you remove that. But how many different locations do students? But how many different locations do students? How many different school districts or different schools? How many different school districts?
Yeah, we have actually 91 different school programs.
We have actually 91 different counties. South Central Pennsylvania, over about 9 counties. South Central Pennsylvania, Maryland, and
how many volunteers does it take to run that program? How many volunteers does it take to run that program?
This last year we had over 1,100.
I guess so.
This last year we had over 1,100 who were involved, and some of them serve at several different schools throughout the week. It's about a third to 40% of our volunteers. About a third to 40% of our volunteers. And then we have a handful of them who are mothers with children who are currently in the program. Our mothers with children who are currently in the program. And then we maybe only have about 5 to 7% of them who are males. We maybe only have about 5 to 7% of them who are males.
Sure, you develop relationships. And I've said many times, relationships is key. And I've said many times, relationships is key to anything you do.
Well, for a lot of these children, as they come into their program each week, for a lot of these children, as they come into their program, this is the person who is looking for their listener. This is the person who cares for them, is concerned for them, and this is cares for them, is concerned for them, and this is. And so it gives a lot of the volunteers a sense of. And so it gives a lot of the volunteers a sense of knowing that they're making a huge impact, purpose, knowing that they're making a huge impact. And we find as well, one of the things that is so valuable for the development of a good community is having intergenerational relationships. Is having intergenerational relationships for both the senior adult and the young children. The senior adult and the young children.
Areas do you need volunteers now? You mentioned a couple. You need volunteers now. You mentioned a couple. The facilities. But as you run the camps and you do facilities, but as you run the camps and you do gamut of need for volunteers across all your summer programs, or volunteers across all your summer programs,
right? Volunteer needs in the kitchen. Sometimes people come out a day a week during the kitchen, or sometimes people come out a day a week during the summer. We've got a bunch of volunteers coming to the organization. We've got a bunch of volunteers coming to the organization. It's when we gather together about 4,000 individual pieces. It's when we gather together about 4,000 individual pieces just about this fall in the program, and they count it out into bundles of 10 or 25, into bundles of 10 or 25. There'll probably be about 35 people on site. There'll probably be about 35 people on site. Then we have people who love to come and maybe then we have people who love to come and maybe do some fixing, or maybe they'll come and volunteer, and they just maybe they'll come and volunteer, and they just they want to serve at camp. We still have some adults who will come and volunteer as a counselor. We still have some adults who will come and volunteer as a counselor.
If someone wants to volunteer, or a church says, if someone wants to volunteer, or a church says, I'd like to be a part of that ministry,
they could either email info@joel.org. They could either email info@joel.org. They can give us a call, 539-717-369, myself, or Amy, myself, or Nate. One of us would be glad to work this out.
And I'm sure you have yet to say to somebody that calls to volunteer. We don't say to somebody that calls to volunteer.
The only thing that slows the process down sometimes now is making sure we have clearances in order, depending on where they serve. Making sure we have clearances in order, depending on where they serve.
That's a factor too. Even within churches, that's a factor too. Even within churches, we have to have clearances, and that is very important. That we live in today. Talk about volunteers. That is very important. About how many churches do you have volunteers? About how many churches do you have involved with the camp?
We have a kind of a short list of churches who are much more intimately involved. That's about 357 right now. That's about a large database that's right now. We have those that are more closely are committed to financially supporting the Joy. Many of them will host a Bible adventure. And some of them have significant volunteers, and some of them have significant volunteers who are involved. So yeah, it's really neat to see how many. So yeah, it's really neat to see how many different churches are so committed to doing this type of
service organizations
right here in our community.
Community service organizations are restrictions their balance in place because of the virus. Restrictions that were put in place because of the virus. How has the virus impacted your ministry? How has the virus impacted
2.5 to 3 months? Everything that we did 2.5 to 3 months. Everything that
we had some staff still showing up on site. So all of the on-site staff still showing up on site. So all of the on-site programs that we did financial loss because of that. Many of our donors saw that, and they tried to fill in the gap as much as they could. But it meant that our leadership training program happened trainings that occurred that way. And it meant that our Bible Adventure students, they had to pivot. And it meant that our Bible Adventure students, they had to pivot very quickly. Our Bible Adventure volunteers had to pivot very quickly do ministry online. So that they, and actually, do ministry online. There were more students, and actually, there were more students, because it was much more accessible. Now, we don't think this is the long-term solution, but now we quickly realized we had some unprecedented opportunities that we had never had before, unprecedented opportunities that we had never had before, because all of a sudden, as a result of this, because a result of this, you always plan kind of for the worst case scenario. So you always plan kind of for the worst case scenario. So we were during this time, but it was just in a different during this time.
A lot of people have learned that Zoom is more than what you do with the camera lens. A lot of people have learned that Zoom is more than what you do with the camera lens. And a lot of people never did this electronic meeting as electronic. But a lot of people know about it now. We've had to do. You do, but a lot of people know about it now. How do your donations come in? Are they private from churches, or how do your donations come in? Are they private from churches?
It's a variety of ways. We'll receive some grants. We'll receive a lot from individuals. We'll receive some grants. We'll receive a lot from individuals. We have some real big donations, and we have some real little donations. We have some real big donations, and we have some real little donations. I just signed a thank you to an individual who sent in $1 in the mail. Counts it all, and we have donations from really young people to really old people. We have donations from really young people to really old ministry. And we like to say, God provides it all. And we like to say, God provides it all. It's just a variety of campers or people that come in your summer programs, people that come in your summer programs. That meant a lot to me. I like to say, come back and they serve as a volunteer. They come back and they serve as a volunteer. In fact, now that I've been in jail for 18 years, in fact, now that I've been in jail for 18 years, I hear of 50 stories of people who maybe 30 impacted by the ministry in some way, shape, or form, and by the ministry in some way, shape, or form, and because of that, normal child who's impacted by our program doesn't have a ton of resources to be able to bless us with. Doesn't have a ton of resources to be able to bless us with. When they're in college age or starting a young family, they usually don't have college age or starting a young family, they usually don't have as much. And they really want to see how they'll come back. And they really want to see we receive to our campership fund, and a lot of the gifts that we receive to our campership fund, we want other children to along the lines of what we did, or what our children did, or what our grand, or what our children did. Well, that's pretty incredible, and we thank you for being there, and you've been there a long time. Thank you for being there, numbers that you've been there a long time, and you've got some great numbers actually contributing, and adding, and it shows that you're actually contributing and adding. We are convinced every day. We just see this happening. We are convinced every day. We just see this happening. You have a board of directors, I guess, that helps in administrating things. I guess that helps in administrating things. We do, and they're very committed to providing significant oversight to providing significant oversight. How many people on the board? There's 13 on our board right now. How many people on the board? There's 13 on our churches, or how they spread? What's the makeup like among churches, or what's the makeup of a variety of churches? Over a variety of churches, over a variety of counties. Retired school teacher. Board chair is her name. She taught retired school teacher. Penny Marks is her name. She taught Spanish teacher. Right. And her husband had her as a Spanish teacher, administrator at the YMCA for 31 years. Administrator at the YMCA for 31 years. Incredible. Dick is the chair of our capital campaign that we have. Dick is the chair of our capital campaign that we have. Just retired. One of our other board members, Chambersburg YMCA. From the some great Chambersburg YMCA. Some other business leaders, community leaders, some other business leaders, community women and men leading, and women and men leading, and that's just great. What is your biggest need right now? And that's just great. What is your biggest need right now? To know right now that summer camp is open. Parents to know right now as much as summer camp is open, getting the word out. As much as we thought we've been getting the word out, we want them to know that we are seeking to do it as safely. We want them to know that we are seeking to do it as safely and possible over and over and over. And we hear from the parents who've chosen to send their kids here. They're thankful they did. It's been a great experience to send their kids here. They're thankful they did. It's been a great experience. And so we're glad to do that now. And the parents need them to get out. We're glad to do that now. And the parents need them to get out. It's interesting because there is concern of it's interesting because there is concern of what we're finding the virus and what it might do. The impact of them just being children caged up at home, the impact of them just being greater caged up at home has far greater than sending them out. Children are the least impacted than sending them out. Children are the least impacted demographic.
Covered a lot of territory. That's right. We probably just scratched the surface. Covered a lot of territory. Anything you'd like to add that we haven't touched on, but anything you'd like to add that we haven't touched on?
Our desire here, as we're part of the community, our desire here, lives are going to be impacted, so that the children, lives are going to be impacted, so that ultimately be able to build better families, better communities, and a better nation, better families, better communities, and a better nation which they live in. We want to help you raise better children because we want to help you raise better children.
Well, you've got a lot of programs and a lot of dedicated people. Well, you've got a lot of programs and a lot of dedicated people to thank you for advance toward that.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with you. Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with you.
As we get further out of this, as things go on, and as we get further out of this 3 months, we've kind of been in for a couple of 3 months. We'll have you back and we'll share again. Well, thank you so much, my guest this evening, Aaron Zebart. Thank you so much, my guest this evening, Aaron Zebart, Executive Director of Camp Joyelle. We're so glad to have you here in Franklin County, and thank you for listening, sharing this time with us as we bring community service organizations in our community, sharing their mission and service to you sharing their mission and service to you 7 p.m. on WRGG 93.7 FM, on WRGG 93.7 FM, and on the web, WRGG.org.
In the valley of the jolly, wow! Heard about the jolly green giant.
Potatoes.
He's so big and mean.
Artichoke hearts.
Stands there laughing with his hands on his hip, and then he hits you with the can of beans. And he lives down in his valley.
Brussels sprouts.
The cat stands tall and green. Well, he ain't no prize, and there's no women his size, and that's why the cat's so mean. One day he left his valley path. I mean to say, this cat was mad. Now looking round, he wasn't gone long, and then he ran into an Amazon. Well, this changed his whole complexion.
Broccoli.
He had never seen such a beautiful sight. He looked at her, and she looked at him, and she almost passed out from fright. He looked at her, thought, what a dilly. He touched her once, she slapped him silly. This was something he had never sensed. He looked at her, and she commenced. Now listen, pal, this ain't no fluke. I can't see going with the big green coot. You've heard about the jolly green giant. Don't let his troubles cross your mind.
Celery stalks.
He couldn't get solid, so went back to his valley. The cat was colorblind.
Carrots. And beans.
Broadcasting from the Wade Lynn Studios high above the broadcast house in downtown Greencastle. We are 93.7 WRGG LP Greencastle.
News from around the world and around the nation. This is Westwood One Radio News. President Trump called it a huge moment for the Middle East with the announcement of diplomatic relations between the United Arab Emirates and Israel.
This is the most important diplomatic breakthrough since the Egypt-Israel peace agreement was signed over 40 years ago.
35 states across the U.S. are reporting an increase in coronavirus test positivity as schools are starting to reopen. More from correspondent Athena Jones.
In Martin County, Florida, north of Palm Beach, an entire elementary school classroom and one bus route were placed under quarantine 1 day after the district reopened for in-person instruction, and a student began exhibiting symptoms. Nationally, more than 2,000 students, teachers, and staff across 5 states are under quarantine due to COVID concerns.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp says he's dropping a lawsuit against the city of Atlanta in a dispute over its requirement to wear masks in public and other restrictions related to the coronavirus pandemic. I'm Barbara Cusack.
For more than 3 decades, Mikey's Ice Cream, a proud supporter of WRGG, has been a local favorite. For a delicious sandwich, a quick-tasting tasty snack or a refreshing drink, and your favorite flavor of ice cream will taste better in a Mikey's homemade waffle cone. With a relaxed family atmosphere, Mikey's Ice Cream and Green Cow Gift Shop is conveniently located at 179 South Antrim Way, Greencastle.
Everly's Plumbing and Heating, family owned and operated at the same location since 1945. From large to small, Everly's do it all, offering residential and commercial sales, service, and installation. Their 4 master plumbers and friendly staff do quality work at affordable prices. A supporter of community radio station WRGG, Everly's Plumbing and Heating can be called at 717-597-7933. Remember, quality service leaves no regrets. Everly's Plumbing and Heating, 9187 South Rabbit Road, Greencastle, Pennsylvania.
Hi everybody, I'm Rashal Alston, but my friends call me Jimmy, and I hope you will too. If you like to sing and dance and love the Lord at the same time, well, tune into my wide, wonderful world of Rusty Dusties every Monday from 3 to 6 p.m. Then we're back on Tuesdays from 12 noon to 4 p.m. Plus every Tuesday, I get to give you 2 hours of classic soul hits and play music for the mind, body, soul, and spirit. Then we return on Thursdays from 3 to 6 p.m. Set your dial on 93.7 or say, Alexa, turn on WRGG. Or you can check us out live online at WRGG.org. Not only can you listen, but you can now watch us live as well. I want to see your face in the place. Mondays 3 to 6, Tuesdays 12 to 4, and Thursdays 3 to 6 on 93.7 WRGG, your good companion station in Greencastle, PA.
WRGG weather. Now the weather forecast for WRGG. Fog developing tonight. The temperature 71 degrees by daybreak. Intervals of clouds and sun with a few showers on Friday, 85 the high. Mostly cloudy, a few showers Friday night, upper 60s. Saturday and Sunday, partly sunny, temperatures in the mid to upper 80s with overnight lows in the middle 60s. For WRGG, I'm nowcast meteorologist Chad Merrill.
Live from the studios of WRGG 93.7 FM in downtown Greencastle, Mid Penn Broadcasting presents Chalk Talk. On air at WRGG 93.7 FM and online at WRGG.org and MidPennBroadcasting.com. This is Chalk Talk, a program dedicated to Franklin County High School sports. Now, here's Gary Klein and John Freeman.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Chalk Talk for this Thursday night, August the 13th. I'm Gary Klein. John Freeman is here with me, and good evening, John.
Good evening, Gary. This is the 4th day of heat acclimatization for... Oh, no, wait. It should be day 4 of heat acclimatization, but we're still in limbo.
Yes, we're still, and do we know a whole lot more than we did last Thursday when we were here?
Yeah, I mean, things have been coming out. Actually, today was kind of an interesting day when it comes to, updates and new news coming out on this whole thing of will they play high school sports in the fall. The governor was in York this afternoon. He had a news conference talking about COVID-19 response and how the state is handling things. Of course, in the question and answer session, the strong recommendation to push sports back to January 1st was brought up again, and he basically reiterated. He says that he still believes that it is his strong recommendation that no sports, high school, youth, anything be played in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania until at the earliest January 1st, 2021. And obviously that's kind of a fluid date that could certainly change based on what happens over the next 4 months. Again, he said there's nothing, he said in his, or at least he was quoted in the story, that there's nothing he can do to suspend it. It's ultimately up to the individual school districts to determine whether or not they move forward and play sports at the high school level here in the fall. But again, he did reiterate his strong warning. A couple other things. The PIAA earlier in the week sent a letter to the governor's office, spelling out their reasons why they think that high school sports should be played this fall. A meeting will take place tomorrow between Dr. Lombardi and members of the PIAA staff with the members of the governor's staff, not the governor himself. So, Dr. Lombardi will not be meeting with Governor Wolf tomorrow, but he will be meeting with his staff. And again, my assumption is the PIAA will continue to push their case as to why high school sports should be played in the state. And we'll see. Like I said, the governor said there's nothing he can do to shut it down. So, again, it's going to be up to the individual school districts, and we've seen some school districts make a move. There have been a number of school districts across the Commonwealth that have announced they will not be participating in sporting activities in the fall. Close to home, Milton Hershey in the Mid Penn Conference announced last week they will not be participating in sports this fall. Reading High School, which is not in the Mid Penn, but it is a member of District 3, they announced they will not be having any type of sports this fall. So we'll see. It's still a very fluid situation. As of now, from everything I've seen, the delay to the 24th is still the date. As of now, August 24th is the day that athletics and sports in Pennsylvania will begin again. But again, here it is. It's August 13th. That's 11 days away, and so many things can happen between now and the 24th. But again, that's where we stand now. The governor reiterating his stance to strongly suggest that there be no sports. And again, the meeting tomorrow between the PIAA and members of the governor's staff. But from everything we've seen, the governor will not be part of that meeting.
Well, and the governor also said that he had received the PIAA letter, he believes, but has not read it or responded. So
yeah, I read that as well. I didn't actually see. That's one of those things that you probably need. It would probably be nice to hear him say it. It kind of sounds, just in that context, without hearing the tone of his voice or facial expressions or anything. It almost kind of sounds like, yeah, thanks for the letter, but I really don't care.
Right, exactly. That's the impression I got. So yeah, it's noted, and we'll move on.
Thanks for taking the time to write me a letter, but it's in a pile somewhere in a back office.
Yes. So he will not be attending the meeting. It'll be the governor's office, and it was my understanding they were going to meet at some point originally also with the some members of the General Assembly, John.
Yeah, mainly Republican members of the General Assembly have been pushing to have sports take place here in the fall. Again, it's there's, as long as the schools want to move forward, it sounds to me at least like they will play.
Yeah.
At least for now, with the governor. I don't recall him last week saying that there's nothing he can do to stop it. And, I'm not an expert in, Pennsylvania constitutional law, so I'm not sure if there is any way, he or the health secretary can step in and shut it down. I don't know if there's any, emergency declarations or, anything they can, states of emergency that can be implemented to shut it down. But, based on what I've seen and read, the governor has said that there's nothing he can do to stop sports from taking place this fall. And again, it's up to the individual school district, and also I guess the conferences and districts as well can certainly have a say in that matter.
And the General Assembly, from what I've read, is also the governing body of the PIAA. I read that's technically, or
Well, the PIAA was formed by legislation. That was passed, by the Pennsylvania State House and the Pennsylvania State Senate. So that's kind of their charter is based on that legislation. So, I guess ultimately, the PIAA is in charge of overseeing high school sports in Pennsylvania, but apparently they answer to the state legislature. So if the state legislature wants to step in and do something, and that's kind of their purview if they want. But ultimately, it's the call of the PIAA.
Yeah, and that's going to be a very tough call here coming up. There's no question about it. But what happens here when, we've already talked about it, there is at least 2 schools you mentioned there, and I think maybe a few more.
There's probably about a half dozen to 10 across the state, but it's 2, one in the Mid Penn Conference, Milton Hershey, and then Reading, which is over in Berks County, and they're part of District 3, but they're not really they're not a part of the Mid Penn.
But what happens here when schools start to fall out like this? What's this going to do to schedules, and are you going to be able to play? If you have a block of schools that drop out, how are you going to continue with the season?
That's where the people that run the conferences are going to have contingency plans in place, and hopefully, I would assume. And again, that's why it'd be nice to have Mike here.
And maybe we will. I'm not sure. Okay. Possibly later, John. But
again, you have to assume that's all being discussed or has been discussed. How do we handle, if 3 teams in the Keystone Division all drop out? How do we handle that? How do we readjust the schedule? Do we have teams play each other twice during the football season? Do we have maybe a cross division game? I'm assuming that's all been worked out. Now, granted, you can't work out a scenario for every potential situation that could happen down the road.
Yeah.
But certainly, I would imagine there's been at least preliminary discussions on, if one team falls out, if one team, gets 3 games into the season and decides to call it quits, or half a dozen, or at some point, I'm guessing there's some sort of trigger that'll cause them to maybe pull the plug on everything if a certain number of schools just give up, or like we've said all along, what do? You get 3 weeks into the season, there's a positive test, forces the program to shut down for 2 weeks, in what's looking like maybe a 7 or 8 week schedule, if you're shut down for 2 to 3 weeks, that's pretty much your season. One other piece of news I think we forgot to touch upon at the beginning of the show, District 3 earlier in the week came out with a revamped playoff schedules. They are looking to have everything wrapped up right around Thanksgiving is the plan, at least at the district level as far as sports are concerned. The revamped playoffs, each sport has its own sets of changes, but to just kind of sum it up in a quick 30 seconds or so, basically they're going to be cutting the playoff teams in half is roughly what they're, maybe a little more than half in some sports and some classifications, a little less than half in others, but just a good general guideline. Just for example, just take with Greencastle, an area where they've had a lot of success in the fall with one of the sports that's been probably the most successful here over the past 5-6 years has been boys soccer. With multiple appearances in the district playoffs, 4 in their classification, the top 16 schools in the district would qualify for the postseason. Now that's down to 8. So basically, you're wiping out half the teams. It'll be one less round of playoffs, and try and get everything done. Just a little bit quicker, because the goal, and with football, in the past the classifications where 8 teams had been taken, now they're taking 4, and where 10 teams had been taken, they're now taking 4 or 6. So it's just everything's just going to be condensed a little bit. So it's going to be harder to make the postseason. That's basically what it's going to come down to.
Yes, it is harder to make the postseason, and with fewer games to make the postseason. Too. And in the Mid Penn's case, John, they've actually delayed their start 2 weeks beyond the PIAA, correct? Because they had announced earlier they were delaying it 2 weeks.
Yeah, to September 5th, I want to say, is going to be the start, and I think the first football games will be the 20. I don't have a calendar.
About the 24th,
it's either the 24th or 25th.
Yeah.
So there may be. I mean, if like I said, if they want the regular season to wrap up by the end of October, so you can get the abbreviated playoffs in, you're looking at maybe a 5-6 game schedule, which I guess would be nothing but division games.
6. And there was one plan out there. Of course, like we mentioned, it's all fluid, John.
Right.
There was one plan to reschedule, I think, one game, like the game prior to the conference play.
Right.
Which would give, 6 games to 8 or 6 or 7, depending on your conference you're in, maybe. But
right. Yeah, because each conference has just different numbers of teams in each division. So
and that would be played, I think, the last week of the season. But and with the shortened playoffs to play by to get it over by Thanksgiving. And you're going to have a lot of luck, I think, to get to get that far into the season, because I don't see how we can go through the year without some teams having to cancel game or games.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's inevitable. I don't think anyone's going to be. I mean, obviously you'll be disappointed and saddened by it, but I don't think anybody will be surprised if there's, on a Monday there's an announcement that a player or players have tested positive, and the team has to pull the plug on their season for a few weeks, and everybody's going to have to be quarantined, and the procedures that are already set on paper that they'll have to follow. You just hope for the best. I mean, you're seeing it at the college level too. I mean, the problem is there's just really no roadmap for this. No one knows what to do. The information about this virus seems to change on a regular basis. Yes. What we thought we knew about it, or what the experts thought they knew about it, changes on even a daily basis. Yeah. And it's just the way it affects people. I mean, it's really hard to get your arms around, how this whole thing just affects people. I mean, some people, you could have 10 people, or 10 people, acquire the virus or test positive for it. 5 or 6 may show zero symptoms. 2 or 3 may, have a flu-like reaction to it. And, a minority, 1% or, 5, 10%, may end up in the hospital, and, even a smaller percent of those pass away. So it's just, it's hard to, it's hard to understand, for someone who's not medically trained, it's hard to understand how, this virus can affect different people so differently. You can go from testing positive and not even knowing it to being hospitalized and possibly even dying from it, or, being left with some of these side effects. You hear about the inflammation and how it attacks the heart and leaves some, damages the heart muscle in a certain way. So I don't know. I mean, and you look at these colleges, you look at the college leagues, how they're handling it. Everybody has, you have the college presidents, you have the athletic directors, you have the medical staffs, all the professional people that, know what's going on. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 have said, we don't think it's safe to play, and they've called off the season. The ACC, the SEC, the Big 12 are like, well, we think we can play, and we think we can keep these kids safe, and we think we can move forward. So, as of now, we're continuing to move forward, planning to play. I mean, who knows?
And some of these schools are in the Big Ten, and Penn State included, are looking at options for playing a schedule, outside of the Big Ten. And I don't know if that's going to work, but they've been at least exploring that option.
I mean, and I don't know. I mean, they can explore, but I don't know how they do that. I mean, with TV contracts and the way teams are tied into these conferences, I'm not sure how they can play outside. If Penn State decides if Penn State calls up USC and says, "Hey, let's play," because neither one of those teams are, they're in conferences that have decided not to move forward. They're going to play a football game. It's going to be televised, obviously. Someone's going to want to televise it. Where does the money go? Does it go to the conference? Does it go to the schools? So, I mean...
there's all kind of hurdles, naturally.
These schools are so tied into these conferences and these television contracts that I'm not sure how you pull that off. Again, maybe they'll find a way, and you have legal minds way smarter than us that can figure it out, but... I mean, there's just so many questions that come up. I don't know how they do it, because the first thing you heard was, well, if we don't play, we're gonna maybe switch conferences. Well, it's not that simple. You just you just can't move to the Big 12 or the SEC for a year and then expect to come back to the Big 10 next year. It doesn't quite work that way.
Yes, exactly. It would be an independent schedule that you would have to play.
I mean, it's again, what was it last week? The Big 10, I think it was last Friday. For that matter, the Big Ten, and they announced the revised conference schedule, and here's who the teams are going to play. We're going to get rid of the non-conference games and play an all-conference schedule, and here's what we're doing to move forward. And then 6 days later, they say, no, we're not playing at all. So again, we talk about things changing on a daily basis. Right there's a perfect example. Last Friday, the Big Ten had their schedule in place and was ready to plow forward, and 6 days later, we're not playing.
And this has been the case, all along. And I mean, from the very beginning, the experts were wrong more than they were right about this, John. I mean, you can go back to the very beginning. So it's just been a guessing game. There's no, no question about it. I guess there's a better word than a guessing game, but just not knowing. Not having enough information.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem. Again, you think you know what's going on, you think you have a handle on it, and the science changes, and what we think things aren't the same as what they once were, and who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, and Mike has said it, last week and the week before, and I 100% agree with him. He's hopeful. He'd love to see things go forward, but I'm just not sure how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm proven wrong.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. Now, I think if we knew that we actually were going to play, let's say starting January the 1st, be much easier to accept that. But like you said earlier, the date is so fluid that, you cannot rely on that January the 1st start date. But if you knew you had the chance to get in the season, from January, through the spring sports, you would want to do it. But there's zero guarantee that, that will ever come to pass.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a magic date. It's not like the governor knows that, December 28th, everything's going to be fine, and, we can go back to normal on January. That's just a date kind of thrown out there in the future, that, and things will be reassessed, and again, all that date is a recommendation, a strong recommendation.
Yeah, right.
Again, he said, today that there's nothing he can do to stop it. He can, it's up to the schools and whatnot. And the schools appear like they're ready to move forward, and the ones that don't will certainly not move forward. So
they won't move forward, but. Do you think there's and there is still the possibility that they will delay this to this arbitrary date of January the 1st, too, of course?
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, if, it seems to me like until there's a vaccine and, people can take it and, things can get under control, we're not really going to be back to some semblance of normalcy. So, again, it's a case where, you get into December and you reassess, and hopefully things are in a state where you can begin something on January 1st. But again, it's then January 1st could become March 1st. We're gonna do whatever we have to do with the fall winter sports, and and maybe the spring sports will be impacted again. Who knows?
Yeah.
Again, nobody knows, and again we've said it before, and we'll keep saying it. We're in such uncharted territory that no one really knows what to do.
Exactly, and it's at this point, I think there's a strong consensus that you want to play. Among athletes and parents, there's no question.
Especially the parents.
Yes, right.
Especially the parents.
But we'll see if that is possible. But the one frightening thing, right off the bat is. One positive case is all it takes, as far as we know right now, to shut down the sports or to shut the team down. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be hard to
and depending on the sport, I mean, one positive case could very quickly become a half dozen, a dozen, or more.
Yes.
You take a sport, like football, where very close contact, and players are kind of piled on each other. 40, 50 times a game for each play. I mean, that's something they could, pass along very quickly. Golf, cross country, tennis, sports like that. There's, they're kind of the social distancing is kind of built into those sports to some degree, especially golf. I mean, you could start, the golf season could have started. I think their first golf match was supposed to be on Monday, either this Monday or the following Monday, because they always start before everybody else. I don't see any reason why you couldn't have done that, but again, it's one of those things where I don't think you can have one sport play, as normal and have everybody else not play.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You have pick out one or so to start. So, and if we would move this season back, I mean, and it does actually come to be, we are going to have a jammed few months and a lot of overlap in sports.
I think you will. I mean, no, I don't think you will. Obviously, you will.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, if that's what it takes to get these in, coaches will just have to deal with it. If I'm a basketball coach and I may lose my football players for a part of the season because they're some of my basketball players they play football.
Yeah.
I I think most basketball coaches understand and see the big picture and realize that they're coaching. The reason they coach is for the best interest of the players. And if that means they have to lose a few players from the basketball team because they're playing football, I think they'll be okay with that. Again, these athletics, these sports are for the players, are for the kids, not for the adults.
Correct.
So,
yes.
What needs to be done needs to be done in the best interest of the players. And if that means, we play football from mid-January, but
that's going to be tough to start in mid-January.
I really look forward to a January 22nd game at Cayley Field. With, it's with a 7:00 start when the temperature's 9 degrees and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour. That's going to be a blast. But again, if you have to play football from January to March or January to like late February and basketball from the end of February to the early April, and then squeeze in a baseball, softball, track season. Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and you can actually extend that spring sports into June or July if everybody would agree to it.
You can. I mean, you can. Could make it tough. I mean, kids may have commitments for college, or they're going to college early or whatnot. And again, one thing the NCAA is probably going to run into if they do go, and I don't think they will. I don't think you're going to see spring college football. I know they're talking about it. I know they're saying they're going to do it, but I don't see how they can do it because I don't foresee a scenario where a lot of these kids that know they're going to go in the first couple rounds of the draft are going to want to play football in January, February, March, get drafted in April, and then go immediately to the NFL. Number one, there's the injury risk. Number two, it's just, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, you're going to literally have players playing 8 games in spring of full contact football and all the damage that does to your body. And then to turn around 3 months later and start over again playing next August.
That was my thought. And
I'm not sure how they do that.
Yeah, and there's some talk about that. How much time you need some time between the season.
Right.
And if you're playing bowl games and everything else, it's like, hey, here we go. And that's the case in high school, too. How far can you go in the calendar and still have another football season?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why, football starts in September and ends in, for the NFL, not early February. And then, that's why they have 5-6 months off because the body needs to recover.
Yeah.
It can only take so much punishment. But, to play, February, March, and maybe even into April, and then turn around and come back 3 months later and start another season, I'm not sure that's practical but I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Again, we don't know where we are. We don't know where we are. We don't know where we're going.
Yeah, right. We don't know where we are. Well, in the case of colleges, like, Big Ten has already come up with the idea of having a few bubbles to play in on a weekend.
Yeah.
Like in Detroit and Indianapolis. Right. And I think Minneapolis still has the dome. I don't know. For some reason they got mentioned.
No.
They don't because the baseball and football team are both outdoors now, but I don't know if they destroyed the Metro Dome or not.
Well, if they didn't, I'm guessing it might not be playable.
Yeah, right. But there was some sites and just to run, several games a day. But, of course, in this situation, you come up with all kinds of ideas.
Yeah, and then it comes down to is, if you start doing things like that, then the whole facade of the student athlete is that's just completely. It's really not really there anymore. Yeah. But there's a lot of people saying the only reason that they're even attempting or trying to play football is because the money it brings in and supports the athletic program. Yeah. And we talked about that last week, if I remember correctly.
We did, but it's true. I mean, how much damage is this doing to your athletic program? I mean, if you do not have a football season, it's going to be devastating.
At the high school level, some because you get gate revenue, you get but even if they play this year, they're not going to have. There doesn't appear as though they're going to have fans. So even if they play, they lose out on there. But at the college level, with the TV contracts, I mean, the amount of money that changes hands between the ESPNs and the Fox Sports and CBS and NBC, and it's just. Crazy hundreds of millions of dollars passing between the TV networks and the colleges, and that money basically funds the athletic programs at these schools. And as we said before, you're starting to see cuts. Stanford cut 11, I believe, varsity sports here a few weeks ago. Yeah. Non-revenue, what they call the Olympic sports, the wrestlings and the sports like that. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, and that's due to a cash short.
Because they know they're not going to be able. The money's not going to be there.
Yeah,
and all these coaches making $3, $4, $5, $6 million a year.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That may change, John.
That could change.
That could very well change. And we're talking about the present situation we were in, but the aftermath of this is going to be for years to come.
Yeah, again, it is, because who knows when it's going to end. You sit here and say, oh, well, let's call the season this year. It's not a good thing. We don't want to do it. We understand how it impacts the players and and things like that. But I mean, who's to say we're not going to be sitting here 12 months from now talking about the same thing?
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, so now, are we going to wipe out 2 years?
Yeah. On the other hand, a few months from there, a month or so from now, we may be talking about a season. It's
again, that's very possible. I mean, Russia says they have a vaccine. I don't know.
I don't know. Hey, if it works, I'm all for it. I don't care where it is. If it works, indeed, we're all for it.
It could just be some Lysol and water.
Right. But
when Putin says he's got a vaccine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if it works, John,
we'll see. It could end up, an extra arm growing out of the middle of your back.
We'll see. Yeah. Okay, we are going to take a break, and we'll be coming back with more of Chalk Talk on 93.7 FM WRGG.
New building south of Greencastle? The tall one, right off Interstate 81 near Sheets? Have you wondered what that building is? That building is WellSpan Greencastle Health Center. It's now open and offers comprehensive health services for residents of Greencastle and Washington County. WellSpan Health, formerly Summit Health, is well positioned to care for you and your family by expanding the services you need so you don't have to travel for the care you deserve. WellSpan Greencastle Health Center offers urgent care for unexpected injury or illness, primary care for regular needs, and advanced specialty care right here where you need it, including women's services, imaging, bone health, urology, and physical therapy in the Paul and Anna Shockey Rehabilitation Center. For more details on the WellSpan Greencastle Health Center and other WellSpan services available in Greencastle, visit summithealth.org/Greencastle. WellSpan Health, formerly Summit Health.
Greencastle Ace Hardware Store has added many more lines of merchandise and expanded their hardware selection. Greencastle Ace Hardware is a local, family-owned business. Their friendly, knowledgeable customer service staff can help you with all of your hardware and rental needs. Glass cutting, window and screen repair, house and auto key cutting. A water softener salt home delivery program is also available. Greencastle Ace Hardware is conveniently located on the Point on South Washington Street in Greencastle. You may call Greencastle Ace Hardware at 717-597-7799. Greencastle Ace Hardware is a proud supporter of WRGG Radio.
From Hollywood, California, the Lux Radio Theater presents Edward G. Robinson in Bullets or Ballots with Mary Astor, Humphrey Bogart, and Otto Kruger.
When It Was Live takes great pleasure in presenting one of the finest radio theater series ever broadcast, the Lux Radio Theater. You'll hear it every Monday and Thursday nights at 6 p.m. right here on WRGG FM.
WRGG weather.
Well, welcome back, everyone, here to Chalk Talk for this Thursday night. As Gary Klein with John Freeman here, and we'll be here till about 9 o'clock tonight as we talk about the possible resumption of the high school football season. And
well, actually, before we get to that, we kind of had a little trouble with the computer with the weather feed. I could read the weather.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go right ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
This isn't Jim Vaughn, but it's probably a relatively close facsimile to Mr. Vaughn. Partly cloudy early, followed by cloudy skies overnight. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low of 69 this evening. Winds light and variable. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High of 86. Winds from the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Okay.
I'm not Jim Vaughn.
And you're meteorologist John Freeman.
No, I think I can get arrested for impersonating a meteorologist.
I never heard anybody arrested for that.
You can't impersonate being a doctor or a police officer. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but a meteorologist. And it's, by the way, currently 80 degrees outside.
Oh, forgot that. Sorry.
Yeah. 80
degrees on 80 beautiful degrees on South Carlisle Street
at WRGG LP Greencastle, and it is as we mentioned, the possible resumption of the high school football season. But whenever it's played, it's going to be quite different without fans in the stands, John.
Yeah, again, we talked about that so much. You'd think they could reach some sort of compromise.
Yes.
With, I mean, kind of like you do with graduation. If when Greencastle graduates, they graduate in the stadium and anybody can come because there's so much room. But if there would be inclement weather and you would have to move the graduation inside, each student is given 4 tickets to allow family, parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, whatnot, to come see the graduation inside because of the limited amount of space. You would think they could work something like that out again, in Cayley Field. If we play, each player, each cheerleader, each band member gets 3 tickets. And, they can give them to their parents, they can give it to a grandparent, just so, and again, when people come into the stadium, Cayley Field is large enough where, if you have a couple hundred people, maybe 300 people, you can space people out appropriately to maintain the required social distancing that's needed. So, you'd think you could work something out that way, but again, the what's been brought down from Harrisburg is no fans, and I think that's really one of the sticking points that I think probably has parents more upset than even just the fact that they may not play. Is the fact that they are going to play, but you're going to have to watch on your computer screen or I don't know, maybe call up JLG and rent a crane, one of those man lifts, and stand outside the stadium in a man lift and watch the game. I don't know.
And there is some kind of proposal that they're talking about now. In fact, it may be something they're going to bring up and try to get passed for each student to have 2 tickets.
That makes
2
sense.
tickets, and it does make sense. And look at it. If you just bring a limited number of people in there, what is wrong with that? I mean, it just, for the parents and whatever, there's obviously, as big as the stadium is, plenty of room for social distancing.
And, make sure masks are required and have, hand sanitizing stations set up. And there are things that can be done you can never completely get rid of the risk, but you can certainly minimize it to a pretty reasonably low level. But again, it just, And again, that may be something, this meeting tomorrow between members of the governor's staff and the PIAA, with this letter that the governor says, a letter? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. A letter? Yeah. We don't, I may have seen that, but I don't think I read it.
I'm sure it came to me, but I just kind of, I made a nice layup, made a 3-point shot from across the office when I went into the trash can. And it's interesting. I'm sitting here looking at the letter right now, and basically what it says: the purpose of this correspondence is to request the opportunity to discuss with your office possible options for fall sports. The PIAA recognizes, understands, supports the objective of the state to minimize the risk of COVID-19 outbreaks, et cetera, et cetera. And this is kind of the main point of their argument. We also believe, however, the sports are going to be played by youth, whether within the PIAA structure or otherwise, and that doing so within the educational umbrella may provide the safest means for that to occur. So basically what the PIAA, and that's all in the first paragraph, so basically what the PIAA, they're resting their argument on, kids are going to play. If we don't play at under a high school name, kids are going to play travel, all that other stuff. And, we feel that we can provide the safest opportunity for them to continue to play. I'm not sure I don't think the governor's going to buy that argument. I don't think they're going to change his mind. I mean, I think it's nice that, they're going to set up a meeting and try and hash out some compromise. But again, I don't, the governor, whether you like him or not, say what you want about him, so that's certainly, fine. People can certainly say about him what they want. But, he is pretty set in his ways, and you don't really see a whole lot of give and take from him. When he has a position, he sticks to it, whether you like it or not. So again, I don't really foresee him, coming around and say, well, yeah, okay, I see your point. Go ahead and play. Yeah. But, again, I think that, the dialogue between the PIAA and the governor's office is, certainly a positive step.
And, and again, it is just a recommendation, a strong recommendation. Right. So, with that being said, unless it becomes an order, or then, it's in the ball's in the PIAA's court.
Yeah, it is. And again, they've stated on more than one occasion, what they want to do. They want to move forward and play. And, it seems to me that most of the schools across the Commonwealth are on board with that as well. And, schedules are trying to be worked out and compromises made and, safety issues addressed. And we can hopefully move forward from there. And,
yeah.
Again, we'll see. So much can happen between now and early September when we think we may be playing games. But,
yes, yeah.
Again, it's interesting, all this discussion and all this back and forth. It makes you kind of feel bad for the kids that just graduated, the athletes that were impacted in the spring. It almost seems like they've been kind of forgotten about. I mean, I know they got a sliver of their season in. They got a couple of weeks of practice, and I want to say, I think the Greencastle softball team, I believe they got a scrimmage. I don't think the baseball team, I think they were rained out for a scrimmage. But either way, I mean, they never got a regular season game in, and obviously they didn't get the playoffs in. But, it seems almost kind of like that's been kind of forgotten now, and everybody's kind of focused on the fall. But, you feel bad for the spring, the kids that graduated in June, because they lost out on their last opportunity, to play sports. Again, they got a couple of weeks of practice and maybe a scrimmage in, but that's not the same. I mean, that's not even close to being the same.
It's not close to being the same. Yeah, they lost their entire the seniors lost their entire year.
Yeah.
And that was the shame about it. No, there's so much talk, about whether they'll play or not and why you can't play. I'm hoping that an equal amount of time is being spent on the ramifications if you don't play. Because there's studies of the damage, emotional damage, and things that it can result from not playing.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, and I certainly can't. If these are smart people doing these studies, I certainly will, stand by what they come up with. I mean, but I've had the opportunity to talk to a handful of kids, that did graduate last June. Yeah. Again, it's maybe 4 or 5 players. Again, certainly not a significant sampling of athletes across a broad spectrum of sports. Yeah. But just in talking to those kids, I mean, they were disappointed. They were not happy. They were upset. Yeah. But they kind of got past it. When they first realized that because initially it was a 2-week delay. We're gonna pause for 2 weeks. We're gonna stop everything for 2 weeks and reassess. And then as you got into those deeper into that 2 weeks, then it just kind of became, it's just not going to happen. We're not going to play. And, again, a lot of these kids, talked about how they were upset and, but, they seem to have gotten over it. They seem to have adapted, adjusted, and, they're moving on to college now or, moving into adult life. So, I mean, yeah, I understand it's a disappointment if they don't get to play. And again, there may be some that have these deep psychological impacts if they don't get a chance to play. But again, the few kids I've had the opportunity to talk to, again, they were sad, they were very upset, but they've kind of moved on from there.
Yeah, and so, and that's a great point too.
Yeah, but again, everybody's different.
Everybody is different, and everybody has a different opinion on what to do with this,
and everybody's opinion is right.
and everyone is right. Exactly. Well, right now I'm not sure who's right and who's wrong, but
you can't. I don't know. I mean, 5 years from now we'll know who's right and who's wrong.
Who's wrong? Right.
But
Exactly.
Again, maybe hopefully in 5 years this will all be sorted out. But as we sit here today, there's a side that says play, and there's a side that says doesn't play, and I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong. So
Yes. So
no one knows.
No one,
and we won't know until this all sorts out. Like I said, if we're all still around in 5 years, we can certainly look back and say, well, the governor was right, or the governor was a moron, or however it turns out. But I don't know.
Yeah, and then you have the case in Iowa where they played a full season, had crowds at games, drew 29,000 fans, and had virtually no cases. A few, 96% of the teams made it through the season, and without problems. You see that happening too. So,
again, that's kind of a small sample.
Iowa,
and again, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what happens? The odds of something bad happening are very small, but I don't know. I guess it's I think that's the problem is you if you know what the risk is, you can assess the risk and decide what you want to do. If I were to tell you, Gary, when you leave the station tonight, if you cross the street, there's a 1 in 1 million chance that telephone pole out there is going to collapse and hit you on the head. And you're like, 1 in a million? I like my chances. I'm going to cross the street and go to my car and go home. But if I said, Gary, that telephone pole could fall. I don't know if it's 100% chance or a 0% chance. You might be like, maybe I'm not going to cross the street. So again, if we knew exactly what the risk was and what will happen if we go through with this, then you can make an adult, a rational decision on what you want to do. But again, we don't know.
Yes,
we don't know.
We don't. Yeah.
So that's what makes it so tough to come up with a decision, because we don't know. The human nature is we're risk averse, and if you were to say, one high school athlete, God forbid, is going to pass away from COVID if they play sports in Pennsylvania, how many tens of thousands of high school kids play sports, or hundreds of thousands?
Right.
Most people are like, well, I'm willing to take that chance. But, what if you're that one kid?
Yes.
So, again, I don't know. I mean, we're all tied to this. I had kids that played in sports multiple years. I officiate sports now. You broadcast the games. So, we're all in this in one form or another. And, we all want to see things go forward, but I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm all for moving forward. Yeah, and I think we all are. I mean, that's one thing that,
I mean, who's to say that coaches start screaming and yelling on a sideline this year? I mean, I don't want anyone screaming and yelling in my face this year. I don't really enjoy it. Any other time,
right? Especially this year.
Considering the circumstances around it now, I really don't want to see that happen.
Right. Yeah, and Major League Baseball, they had the suspension or anything if you got into a brawl. We've already had one.
Well, again, and I think we brought this up 2 weeks ago. The funny scene that kind of happened the opening weekend when the Pirates were playing in St. Louis. There was a home plate umpire. The Pirates dugout was kind of chirping some balls and strikes calls that they didn't like, and a Pirate player was thrown out of the game, and the Pirates manager came storming out of the dugout. And he had to stop and pause while the umpire turned and started, walking, towards the dugout, and everybody kind of had to stop and put their masks on.
So
it's like here they come, the two, the manager and the umpire about ready to go nose to nose, and they go, hang on, I put my mask on. Okay, now we can scream at each other. And that was just. It's just kind of funny to see that happen where, like I said, the umpire just started, storming over towards the dugout to confront the manager, and then all of a sudden it hit him. We had to stop, reach into his pocket, pull out his mask, and and do what managers and umpires do.
Right? How funny is that? Hold the argument here till I get my mask.
Coach. Okay, now you can call me a no good, dirty, rotten son of a
whatever comes next. So
we'll see. Again, Everybody's just kind of playing it by ear. Like I said, the athletic directors, the folks that run the Mid Penn Conference, they're putting together contingency plans. And here's as of 8:20 on Thursday, August the 13th. Here's what we're doing. Yeah. Check back in the morning. It could change.
Yeah. So. Right. Yes. Yeah. It could change. Yeah. That's the key word. It could change. Yeah. And
I think the cell phone companies are probably doing a great business with all the minutes people are using.
Oh yeah,
phone calls.
Oh my, phone calls, text messages, you name it. Yes, I would, absolutely.
And if I would have only known 6 months ago to buy stock in the company that started Zoom, I would have done so.
Oh yes, we probably wouldn't have to work anymore, right?
Exactly.
And that's it. Boy, has that become the thing right now? Is Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just such an easy way to communicate.
Yeah.
And it is.
And I mean, going off on a tangent that really isn't sports related, I mean, you're seeing, businesses, the way this is impacting businesses, in a sense where, it used to be, we all got up in the morning, we all went to a building, we all worked, then we all went home. Well, now we're realizing we don't all have to get up and go into a building to do our job. We can stay home and work. So, and you've seen a number of companies that have said, hey, it's cheaper, first of all. If I don't have to pay rent for this building for my people to come work, if I can just have you stay at home and get on your computer and, we can do FaceTime, Zoom, whatever, it makes the business run more efficiently because, you can do it and, it reduces costs. And, we're learning a lot. We've learned a lot over the past 6 months on how we can, now, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I mean, the fact, that common ground of people coming together and being face-to-face and interacting and spending time together, I think is important, something we need as humans to interact with one another. But, I think we're learning now that, we can survive, if you want to call it that, with FaceTime and with Zoom and with Netflix and not really interacting with each other. And, I'm not sure that's such a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean,
I don't think it is over the long haul. Yeah. And not every business is equipped to do that, though.
Right.
I mean, a lot of them are, but you're never really going to get to know your coworkers or your boss or anything when you do that. And how much more productive are you with somebody watching over you than you are sitting at home and working?
Well, they're still kind of watching you. I mean,
they can watch you, but you can't. I mean, you can get away with a lot more. Yeah. Let's face it.
No, you can wear slippers to work. That's a nice thing.
Right? Yeah.
I can roll out of bed at 5 till 8, and with my slippers and my sweatshirt on, and go to work.
Go to work. Yeah.
I don't have to shower. I don't have to brush my teeth. I don't have to shave. Well, I don't really shave anymore anyhow, but
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you talk about the interaction, the human face-to-face interaction. I mean, I miss not doing this. I mean, when we shut down back in March, this, I miss doing this. I miss, looking forward to, Thursdays with you and Sundays with you and Mike. And, a couple of weeks ago, I was out, walking just because, I mean, that's one thing. I will say that one thing, at least personally for me, I have been a lot more active because when you can't do anything and you're bored to tears, what else to do but go walk? So, doing a lot of that. And I was, just walking a couple of weeks ago. I thought, boy, we really need to get back together. I need to get a hold of Mike and Gary. And that's when I texted you guys
you text us about doing it. And I miss doing it too. It seemed unusual not to be able to be in here with you and Mike on Thursdays and Sundays. And it was perfect time because we finally had subjects to talk about. There for a while. It was nothing. I mean, going and no sports at all.
Yeah, and literally, it's just shut down. I mean, the Little League in town is playing, but that's that's basically been it. I mean, and even that. I mean, there's no sectional tournaments this year. Obviously, the Little League World Series was canceled, and everything kind of leading up to that was also canceled, kind of down the line. Within the state of Pennsylvania and within the different sections and the Section 14 tournament, which Greencastle's had a ton of success in recently. That was called off, so there's nothing going on. And again, we certainly hope to bring you local sports. The 2 to 3 minute sports broadcast in the morning, and the problem is when there's absolutely nothing going on, it's kind of hard to talk for 2 to 3 minutes about it.
Yes, it is. I know. Yeah.
If Dr. Hoover doesn't have a problem, I can certainly come in for 10 seconds, and he can, here's John Freeman with sports, and I go, got nothing, Greg.
Yeah, I got.
And go, thank you, John. Now let's move on to.
Nothing to report today.
I could do that every morning.
Yeah.
It would kind of get boring and old after a little while, but I got nothing.
Yeah, right. And I miss that too, sitting here in the mornings waiting for John Freeman sports.
Interacting with the coaches and the players. It's a blast. I know they appreciate it. And they enjoy it. They like hearing themselves on the radio and getting the recognition that they get. So, just keep your fingers crossed. Goodness gracious. Hopefully we can get back to something soon.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, really want to. There is no question.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been, absolutely. It's been rough in the business I'm in.
Yeah.
It's been different. Yeah.
When everything, it's kind of hard to take a bus trip somewhere when everything's closed.
Yes, exactly.
It's probably hard to get people willing to sit on a bus for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. With people they don't know, and it's like, can we just all wake up from this horrible dream?
I know. I know. I keep thinking. And in the beginning, when, and we knew it would be longer, but we had no idea whatsoever. I didn't. I never expected it to last this long. And
again, that's, we don't know what we know what's going on. We understand what's going on, with this virus and how it impacts people. And, some people get sick, some people don't. Some people get really sick. Some people, unfortunately, pass away. But we don't know what hurdles we need to clear to say we're headed in the right direction. It's a virus. It's contagious. It's gonna, that's what viruses do. They pass from human to human, via droplets or via, whatever. Call your physician. They'll give you the medical explanation for it. But we pass this virus along to one another, or we can. But at what point do we need to get to say, okay, we can start getting back to normal? And that's one thing I've get to see or hear is, what we need, what numbers we need to hit, or what threshold we need to reach to start getting back to normal.
Yeah, but it seems like it changes, John. You read one thing, and you think you're making progress, and all at once, here comes another restriction, and it's very frustrating. There's
I mean, it seemed a couple of months ago, it seemed like we were starting to head back. Things were starting to open up. Again, maybe looking back, maybe that was too aggressive. I don't know. But
but on the other hand, you can't stay. The economic damage is just out of.
I mean, again, that's, and you're starting to see people take that stance, and I can't totally disagree with them. Of what, we have to live. We understand there's risk. We understand bad things could possibly happen, but it's a case if we continue living in fear and shutting things down and not doing anything, we're basically guaranteeing failure as a society versus kind of adjusting back to normal, some degree of normalcy. And we could see failure, but at least there's the chance of success. So it's almost certain failure versus possible failure. It almost seems like, again, everybody has their own opinion, and, you can put 10 people in this room and you'll have everything from, sit in your basement, don't come out for 3 years to, I want to go to the bar and drink beer and scream at people and, and live my life like absolutely nothing has happened and everything in between.
And
again, I don't know, again, I'm leaning towards the, let's try it, and again, there will be some bad things that'll happen, but we got to try something.
We've got to do it, because we cannot sustain a shutdown forever. No. I mean, and how long can a restaurant sustain operating at 25% capacity?
You know what? In all honesty, I'm surprised as many are still in business as we have. I mean, there have been a number that have shut down. Hempen Hill in Hagerstown was the big one that shut down. That's that was in the news here a few weeks ago, and I'm sure there are others that have shut down a little more quietly that we may not know about. But you look around Greencastle, and John Allison's still around, and B Street 104 is still around, and we have a couple of Mexican restaurants. One actually right down the street from us, and one over at the by Food Line. It's not Food Line anymore. Shop and Save, not Shop and Save. Martin's. I'm going back like 5 grocery stores.
Right. Yeah, I know.
But, as far as I understand, they're still around, which is great. But like you said, how much longer can they go? I don't know.
Yeah, we cannot sustain economically, and just continuing with these partial shutdowns and business affected sooner or later. It's only going to get worse until you get back. Get back to full operation.
And the government can only print so much money for so long before you start to see the inflationary pressures kick in. We've been very fortunate. I work in the banking industry and finance background and all that other stuff. So it's kind of amazes me how. And here we are going into a political show, but anyway, or at least a financial show. We're not going to do politics. We may do finance. We're not doing politics. The fact that we've been able to basically print the money that we've had and not have inflation, because the basic economics, the old theory of the more money you supply, the more money you put into circulation, the greater the risk of inflation. You have too few people chasing after too many dollars, and things happen. But I mean, again, I don't know. I don't know. Anything you say to me, Gary, I'm just going to go, I don't know.
I don't know. Same with me. I don't know.
Boring radio, but
does anybody have the answer?
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out at some point. But
and again, hopefully we can get our sports back and get a little bit of distraction from.
Yes, and that's a big thing to me, having baseball back right now, and hockey and the NBA. And it's been quite an interesting.
We're not really a national sports show. We're more local. But how great has it been? If you're a sports fan, the past 3 weeks or 2 weeks, I guess tomorrow will be 3 weeks.
Yes,
since everything, or 2 weeks since everything started. But I mean, you have 4 or 5 basketball games a day, 4 or 5 hockey games a day. Baseball every day. You still have golf and soccer and MMA and cross your fingers football.
Yes.
But it's been great. I mean, if you're from a sports fan perspective, these past 3 weeks, as depressing as life may have been or has been. At least you have that to fall back on.
Yes, you do.
For now.
And it is. And I absolutely think that this can turn into one of the more exciting seasons here in baseball, with 16 playoff teams and the shortened schedule. If they get there, I'm confident that they will. Other than those 2 outbreaks, they have contained it very, very well. And I think, unless something really bad happens, they're in no way, shape, or form do they want to shut down. Well, from the financial standpoint, number one, on both sides. Yeah,
it's just bizarre. I mean, you look at the standings, and you look at the National League Central Division, just for whatever. You have the Chicago Cubs at the top of the division with a record of 12-3. Cincinnati is in second place; they're 8-10. Milwaukee's third, 7-9. St. Louis. Or the Pirates are in last place, which is no shock there at 3-13. Then sitting in fourth place is the St. Louis Cardinals with 2 wins and 3 losses.
3 losses. They're the team that's been affected.
Everybody else has played anywhere from 15 to 18 games, and the Cardinals haven't played in 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
And everything I read about that is they probably aren't going to be playing anytime soon.
Yeah. So what do you do in that situation? Is it percentage or?
Well, they have said that they're probably going to go by the winning percentage, because the odds of all 30 teams completing 60 games is pretty small. Again, the Florida Marlins are another team. The Miami Marlins, they had the problems early, but they've been able to catch up a little bit. They're up to 12 games now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think people are starting to realize now there's really no way St. Louis can get 60 games in, even if they play the 7-inning doubleheaders, because there's only 50 days left in the season, and they still have to play 55 games. So
we're 25% or better through the season already.
I mean, the Mets and the Braves have played 20 games. That's a third of the season.
Yes. That's 1/3 of the season. They've played you got 19 there with
So when you get to the end of the weekend, pretty much everyone will have reached 1/3 of the way, except for St. Louis. But still chugging behind, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it will be, with all the, the 16 playoff teams, and, those first round series, best 2 out of 3 games, which, again, it's fun for the fans. I'm not sure how fun it is for the teams because, we all know in baseball, baseball is a funny sport because over the long haul, over the 162 game season, the good teams separate themselves from the not so good team. Who the good teams are, over 162 games because, teams can get hot for short periods of time. But, that long 162 games really is a great equalizer and shows you who the good teams are and who the bad teams are. But that first playoff round series is the best 2 out of 3. Anything can happen in the best 2. The Pirates could play the Yankees.
Oh, exactly.
Best 2 out of 3, and the Pirates could easily take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees.
Yeah, I think any team in baseball.
Yeah, exactly. So the worst team, the worst team in baseball has, if you're to play, football, if the Kansas City Chiefs were to play Jacksonville, best 2 out of 3, Kansas City would blow them out 2 games out of 2 straight games every time.
Every time, yeah.
But in baseball, the way baseball works, it's anything can happen. So it's gonna be fun from a fan's perspective. It's gonna be a blast. But if you're a player, a coach, a manager, a team owner, it may not be so fun.
It may not because number one, you could have the greatest 60-game stretch,
right?
And the only so-called advantage is first round you get all your games at home,
right?
The 3 games, but with no fans, how much of an advantage is that? Really?
Yeah.
and so there's really no big incentive to win your division.
Yeah, true.
I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference from finishing first or getting in, as number 16, except who you may prefer to play in the playoffs.
And then you have the NHL. They got through their preliminary rounds and their seeding rounds and one another into the playoffs, quote unquote. And what happens the first night of the NHL playoffs? A 5 overtime game.
Yeah, 5. Yeah,
a game that started at 3 in the afternoon and not only it finished till it was like pushing 9:30, 10 o'clock when the game ended.
It was 5 overtime.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Tampa Bay and Columbus. Yeah. I was going to say Carolina, but I got my C's confused. It's not Carolina, it's Columbus.
Yeah. So 5 overtime.
Yep. Yeah.
And they won and they worry about the short games and things now. 5 overtimes you got. And they were all sudden death overtime.
Oh yeah, it is. In the playoffs, they don't do the. In the regular season, you get the 4-on-4 5-minute overtime, and then it goes straight to a shootout. Yeah. But when it comes to the playoffs, if it's tied after 60 minutes, we keep playing until there's a goal scored, and that could happen in 30 seconds, or in this case, it took 4.5 periods. They basically played over 2.5 games is what they played.
Yes, it would have been.
You have your 3 periods and then your 4 overtime periods, and they were into the 5th.
Yeah,
so it was literally 2.5 games. They played over 2.5 games. Yeah, it took to finally determine a winner in that.
Yeah, I hope they had a few days off anyway.
No, they didn't. That's like I said, that game ended around 9 o'clock, 9:30 on Monday, and they were back in action earlier today. They were the first game today, Tampa and Columbus.
And Columbus was
so they basically got 24, 36, like 40 hours off.
Yeah, 40, yeah.
Back on the ice, and off they went again. Yeah. Fortunately, that game ended in regulation, so that game didn't go 5 overtimes
right.
as well.
So hockey has them staggered throughout the day. Is that it? And that's a good thing. And I am surprised baseball did not do that because they're pretty well, most of their games are starting at, the traditional 7:30 starts, as opposed to running, from late morning, early afternoon, all the way through to the West Coast games.
Yeah, and with no fans, I mean, you certainly could. It's not like you have to, do the 7 o'clock start just because, you want to give fans the opportunity to get home from work and get to the game. I guess that's maybe, more of a courtesy to the players. They're used to playing games that start at 7 o'clock. They live their life around that where, you leave the stadium after a game, you go home, you sleep, you wake up at a certain time, you're back at the ballpark, around noon, 1 to get ready for that 7 o'clock game. And I guess if they fluctuate the starting times too much, maybe they're afraid it puts the players out of that rhythm. And so much of this stuff and so much that goes on behind the scenes, with the players union and the owners, negotiating their agreement. It sets certain things like that. So my guess is that's probably the reason for that. But yeah, you're right. With the NHL, it's great. I mean, they're playing. The Eastern Conference teams are playing in Toronto. The Western Conference teams are playing in Edmonton. And yeah, I mean, you're playing 4 games a day. They started 3, 5:30, 8, and 10:30. So if you're a hockey fan, you can sneak out of work a few hours early and literally watch hockey from 3 o'clock until well after midnight.
Right. The full day of it. So. Yeah, and it is, but probably baseball. Maybe a lot of it has to do with the heat.
True.
If you're playing all afternoon games day after day,
that makes sense. Especially if you're in Texas.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly.
Their stadium has a retractable.
There is a retractable roof. Yeah. It's that stadium. New stadium. Everybody says is so ugly. Yeah. It looks like a tin. Beautiful inside.
Yeah, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Right. And,
when it comes to stadiums.
Yeah, but yes. So.
What else we got?
Yeah,
not a whole. I mean, like I said, again, if you tuned in late, we went over everything, the latest on the PIAA, the situation with that, the governor, coming out this afternoon at a news conference in New York, announcing that he is still standing behind his strong recommendation that no youth sports be played, whether it be high school or non-PIAA, I guess we'll call it. Your travel leagues and your tournaments of that ilk that you see on the weekends everywhere these days. But again, there's no real legal means for him to put the end to it. And again, Dr. Lombardi from the PIAA and some of his staff will be meeting with members of the governor's staff tomorrow, and we'll see. And we'll certainly have updates. If you follow WRGG Sports on Twitter and Mid Penn Broadcasting on Twitter. Ed Gottwalls always has a lot of stuff, with what's going on. So, and we'll just, do the best we can and keep going.
Yeah, and we look forward to that tomorrow. And the official announcement is to come a week from tomorrow as to the status of the season.
Right.
And I guess conceivably they could do it earlier, but that's a date.
Yeah, I think the PIAA has another meeting next week. Is that what it is?
Yes. So it's. And, talking to, various parties, and, we'll see what the decision comes. And I think it's going to be to play one way or the other. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I think they'll try and start. Yeah. And again, we'll see how far they can go. Yeah. And, again, fingers crossed, hopefully everything works out for the best and they can get something in. And, again, we'll just go as far as they can and hope they can get to Thanksgiving and, wrap up a season and a postseason.
Yes, and that could be a challenge, no doubt. But it would be certainly nice to be able to do that. But one way or the other, do you think there's any chance they may say they're delaying till after the first of the year?
I really don't see the PIAA going back on what they're recommending. I mean, I think a lot of that is in the hands of their medical committee. They seem to think it can be done. I think the PIAA is going based on their recommendations, and as long as we don't see any sort of drastic change in the level of the number of people testing positive, I certainly think the PIAA moves forward. If something crazy happens starting next week, where the number of positive cases or God forbid deaths spikes and skyrockets, maybe that impacts their decision, and maybe they decide to put a hold on things until next year. But barring that, they want to play, and they're going to do everything they can to make it as safe as possible and get a sports season out there. And like I said, we'll keep our fingers crossed and hopefully they can do it.
Yes, and yes, absolutely, because it would also be bad to have naturally have to start and only play a few weeks. At that point, they're probably not going to go up and say, "Okay, we'll finish in the spring." I'm afraid, but
I mean, if they get a few weeks in and something happens that they have to pull the plug, kind of like what we saw in the spring. I don't think it's something they'll restart again.
Yeah.
They may again. It's all speculation and guessing right now. But again, it would probably be a case of do again what they did in the spring. we're not going to pull the plug right now. We're going to, simply, put everything on hold for a week or 2 or 3 and try and restart. And if they can, they will. And if they can't, well, again, I get, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the players' shoes. I don't know what or the coach's shoes. So I'm not sure what they're going through. But 2-3 games is probably better than none. I mean, I don't know.
It is.
I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, well, I would say that. Well, I guess it is better than none, but that's certainly
it's not
good. It's not good. It's terrible. You want to get as many in as you possibly can.
You want to play the full season.
You want yes. Ideally, you'd like to play your full 10-game football season. So,
but, I mean, as of now, that's not going to happen simply because we're on hold here for a couple of weeks until things try and get ironed out. But again, like I said, a 6-game season, a 7 or 8 game full season is certainly better than 0. And again, I mean, I don't know. You probably have to ask the coaches and the players, what they think. Given what we know now, would you have the plug pulled now and not have a season, or play 3 games and they pull the plug? I don't know. Yeah, nothing is good, but I don't know.
Yeah,
there it is. It falls back to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything falls back to I don't know. And like we said earlier, there's no guarantee by moving it to January that you're going to get a season in then. None whatsoever.
Yeah, and again, everybody looks at January 1st and just to think, oh, okay, well, if we cancel it now, January 1st we'll start playing basketball games and we'll start wrestling. Again, that's just a placeholder date. It's a nice round number. It's the start of a new year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This horrific 2020 will be behind us. If only it was that simple where, at midnight of January 1st, it's like a wall. We move into the new year and
everything disappears.
It would be great if it happened. I'd certainly sign up for that right now if I could. But, again, that's, it's a case of, if, they don't play, which again, I don't think they won't play. I think they will. Yeah. But again, that would just be a case of okay, we're gonna look again, in January and see if we can start something in January. And by mid-November, early December, you'll start to check. Okay, is the first feasible? Do we maybe try February for? And again, they just keep pushing it forward. And again, we don't know what what has to happen. For where it's so bad now that the governor strongly recommends not to play. What has to change to allow him to strongly recommend to play on January 1st? And that's the great unanswered question.
Yes. And and one we probably will never get an answer on, to tell you the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a pause, and we'll be back with our final segment of Chalk Talk after this.
Banking done your way. It's the power to make life better. It's the convenience of managing funds anytime, anywhere with mobile banking. Even better, it's the satisfaction of working with local pros who are more responsive and in tune with you. That's why today, more families and businesses are choosing F&M Trust. So when you're ready to have banking done your way, visit any of F&M Trust's 22 locations, all right here in South Central PA, and online at fmtrust.bank. Member FDIC.
F&M Trust, a proud sponsor of programming at WRGG.
Hi there!
Friday nights at midnight.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Chalk Talk here at WRGG at 12 minutes before 9 o'clock. Gary Klein along with John Freeman. We've been discussing the upcoming, at least hopefully, upcoming high school football season. Which is scheduled to begin in a few weeks. A PIAA announcement coming next Friday. So,
I mean, so many. Again, it's it's always so exciting. You get so excited when you come into this time of the year, and everybody has high expectations for a great season. You look at the Greencastle football program; they've struggled over the past 4 years or so. They bring back, all their starting skill players. They bring back a number of players along the offensive and defensive lines. They were hoping for big things this year, and hopefully they get a chance to show it. Chambersburg, they had that great senior class that led them to such great things over the past couple of years. Those kids have graduated and moved on, and now it's time for a new group. to step up and continue, what that senior class, has done for Chambersburg over the past couple of years. So, so exciting, so many great questions out there. Everybody was looking forward to it, and now it's we're gonna we're doing voluntary workouts, but even though we're doing it in the back of our mind, we're thinking, is this just a waste of time? And that makes it tough. It's tough to prepare for a season when you need to be have that mindset on that first game of the year and what you're going to do. But like I said, in the back of your head, you're just thinking, is this just is this all for nothing?
Yeah,
we're gonna
you have to think
and
that,
put the work in and get ready to play a football season and have it taken away. It's tough. It's very tough.
And Chambersburg, lost a key part of their team for this year with Jaden Jones transferring to Shippensburg. Jones was, a big guy out of the backfield.
Yeah, that's an interesting situation.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
Nah, I'm not going to talk about it, but it's, it's just, you see kids, you see that happen, just funny how kids seem to transfer to good schools, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but when a kid has to move out of a district, it's just interesting that they move into a district that has a very, very solid program. And, a team like Shippensburg, great things were expected from them this year. So, whatever.
And I can imagine the kind of year Jaden is going to have, in the Colonial Division.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a very dynamic player.
Oh, absolutely.
And, so it's... Chambersburg, it's going to be wait and see if we do play, because they lost most of their starting offense, if not all, offense and defense last year with that senior class.
Yeah, I mean, they brought, 18, 19 starters back last year?
Yes.
So again, that means, when you're a coach, it's like when you bring back 19 starters, it's like, wow, this is great, but boy, 12 months from now, I'm going to be hurting.
Yeah, right.
So, there's a good and a bad to that, for a coach. When you bring back a lot of starters, that generally means that those kids have, they're excellent because they started as juniors.
Yeah.
But that means you're going to graduate, and then you're going to have a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah.
But again, that's why you coach. You coach because you love a challenge, and you love to deal with kids, and you love to work with kids, and you love to be, have your back against the wall. And I think if I had to guess, I would say most coaches probably like that just as much as the scenario they saw last year, where they knew coming in they had all these talented kids coming back. I think you like working with kids that people don't have high expectations for, because that motivates you to do well, and then you can just kind of show people you were thinking we were going to have a down year. Well, just watch, we're going to show you, and we're going to come back and we're going to punch a lot of teams in the face. And I'm sure that's what Chambersburg plans to do this year if they get the opportunity.
Yeah, if they get the opportunity, which is a big if.
Yeah.
So, and if they do, and hopefully they do. And by the way, let's see, we're at August 14th. Or August 13th. Tomorrow is the 14th, which we would only be 2 weeks away from kickoff.
Yeah, like we said at the beginning of the show, today would have been day 4 of heat acclimatization. Practice for real would have started on Monday. Next weekend would have been scrimmages. They get the one scrimmage if they play week 0. Do they still call it week 0?
Yes, they do still call it week 0, but I guess it's going this year, but they do call it week 0. Why, I don't know.
So I guess it should have been called week 1. But would be, into practice and, 9 days away from scrimmages and 16 days or 15 days away from games.
Yeah.
But yet here we sit with no idea what we're doing.
Yeah. And who would have ever thought we could be in this position?
Yeah.
Talking about being able to play a high school sports game.
Yeah. With the realignment in the Colonial or in the Mid Penn Conference, bringing in the teams from the Tri Valley, and having now there's the 5 different football conferences in the Mid Penn. The realignment brought new schools into the Colonial. So now Greencastle was going to see the Mechanicsburgs and the Susquehanna Townships, coming in to the Colonial, getting different looks. It was going to be a very exciting year. And, again, we still may, get some games, and hopefully we get as many as are on the schedule right now. Because, it's fun. It's everybody, whether it's football, soccer, volleyball, cross country, field hockey, golf, whatever, it's fun. And these kids love doing it. And, if they don't get the opportunity to do it, it's going to be sad.
It is. It's going to be very sad with and especially well for everyone, but for the seniors, it's just such a hard thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be your best year, and and probably for the most part, the majority, the last time you'll really play an organized sports game again for a lot of players.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the overwhelming majority of these kids will not play in college. I mean, it's the ones that do, at least in our area, it's Division III, maybe Division II. You don't see a whole lot of Division I athletes come out of, this area. I mean, you get the Taryn Parches of the world, come every now and then. The Miles Game and Nathan Starlipper, they went to play Division I baseball. But most kids, you're right. I mean, this will be it. That last football game, that last soccer game of your senior year will be the last time, you play in a competitive. You can play adult leagues and rec leagues and things like that. But I know, officiating football. I remember, I think it was maybe 2 seasons ago doing the it was the Little Brown Jug game, Shippensburg and Big Spring, and it was the last game of the year, and it was towards the end of the game, and it was a timeout on the field, and I was just kind of standing around with a couple of the Big Spring players, and I told them, I'm like, guys, just look around. I mean, because I think I even asked them, "Are you guys seniors?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I said, look around. Soak in this moment, take it in, because you're not going to experience this, anytime again. You have, and I told my own kids this when they played sports too. I mean, you have, people that don't know. I mean, your parents are going to come watch you play. Your friends are going to come watch you play. They always have. They always will. But I mean, you have people that don't know you are paying hard-earned money to come watch you play a sport. And, I think, a lot of times kids don't understand it, don't realize that. And I think they need to just, kind of take that into consideration and realize, I am insanely fortunate to be able to do what I do and, to have this opportunity to do that. And, you don't want to take it for granted because it's a very limited time. You play a sport, even, these kids, they start playing, they're 6, 7 years old, and they play through high school. So that's 12 years of your life, 11 years of your life where you're playing the sport. Well, now you're 18, you have another 60, 70 years of your life to go.
Yeah.
So, you're going to look back on this time for the next 70 years. So, just take the time when you're, I know during the game so much is going on, you don't have time to think about that, but during a timeout or during something, just kind of look around the stadium and soak it all in and enjoy it, because it doesn't last forever, and not many people get to experience that.
Yes, and a small percentage of students get to experience that.
Yeah, exactly.
A very small percentage, and that is such a good point there you made, John. This is it. Your time's winding down. You're never going to be in this situation again, most likely, unless you're playing in college.
My kids, my oldest has been out for 3 years and my youngest has been out for 2 years. Even every now and then someone will stop them on the street that they don't even know and, mention something about basketball.
Yeah.
I know, especially during the season, my youngest son would get, I think he was walking into the grocery store or walking into someplace, and, somebody said something to him, "Oh, you miss playing out there? You miss playing basketball? I bet you really miss it."
Yeah.
And he was, smiles, was like, "Yeah, I really do. I really wish I could still be out there." But, it's just, it's things like that you need to understand the impact you have on the community. And,
you do. I mean, there's no question. Yeah, that's a major impact on the community, and you're recognizable a few years later. And it's it's quite an experience. Well,
we got to get out of here.
Yeah,
I got to go to bed. It's 9 o'clock. I got to work tomorrow.
Oh, you got to work?
Yeah.
From home?
No, I have not. I've not missed a day. I've gotten up every morning. From when all this fiasco started back in mid. Yeah. Actually, I think it was right around this time in March. It was right around like March 13th or 14th.
Right.
Was when the what hit the fan. So
right. Yes.
God willing, I've gone to work every day. And I'll continue to go to work every day. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining us here tonight. We'll do this again next Thursday night here at 93.7 FM WRGG. Have a good night, everyone.
For Chalk Talk. Listen every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. on Mid Penn Broadcasting and WRGG for Chalk Talk. We talk high school sports and get you ready for the upcoming games. Chalk Talk is an exclusive presentation of MidPennBroadcasting.com and WRGG 93.7 FM.
We are GA. We are WRGG LP Greencastle.
News from around the world and around the nation. This is Westwood One Radio News.
Pandemic response, birther theory. I'm Barbara Cusack. The Democrats' presumptive presidential nominee Joe Biden made another campaign appearance today alongside running mate Kamala Harris. Correspondent Linda Kenyon says the Democrats addressed the Trump administration pandemic response.
Be a patriot. Protect your fellow citizens.
Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, speaking in Wilmington, Delaware, after a briefing from public health experts.
Step up. Do the right thing.
The right thing, he says, is for governors to issue a 3-month mask mandate, saying if everyone does that, it will save more than 40,000 lives during that time.
Correspondent Jeff Zeleny tells us the Trump campaign now raised the birther issue, falsely claiming Kamala Harris may not be eligible for the vice presidency due to questions surrounding the immigration status of her parents at the time of her birth.
Senator Harris was born in California in 1964. It matters not that her parents were immigrants. So this is something that is going to get a lot of attention. But it just simply is not a fact. It's very reminiscent of the Obama situation, the birtherism, but it just is not the fact of the matter.
The number of laid-off workers applying for unemployment aid fell below 1 million last week for the first time since the coronavirus pandemic intensified 5 months ago. But the number of first-time applicants still came in at 963,000. President Trump said any deal to sell Chinese-owned social media app TikTok to an American company must substantially benefit the U.S.
The deal will have to be substantially beneficial to the United States, and we need total security.
Trump made the remarks after issuing an executive order banning transactions with TikTok's Chinese parent, ByteDance, by mid-September. The New York Post reports President Trump says he will deliver his Republican nomination acceptance speech from the White House lawn. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to In the Pit with Brian. We have a really good show for you tonight. We're waiting on one, though. Pam went to move her van. Our co-host is outside. So, we're going to start. We have two awesome guests in here, again, for a return because of the last show we had. So, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Who do we have in the studio tonight?
We are Blazing Apparition Paranormal Investigations. I am founder Jim, and this is my wife and co-founder Judy.
Outstanding. We've actually done some stuff with you guys this year.
Yes. We've had a blast.
I'm going to turn your mics up because I can't hear you. Try that.
Check.
There we go. That's way better. It was really weird coming in here on the ride in. I actually called Greg because I was listening to the radio, the station, and it was an echo. And I was like, oh man, what's going on? Here they recorded, and was playing a recorded show, but they did it twice. So we got that situated, fixed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really weird. So what have you guys been up to?
With COVID and everything going on, we haven't been doing much of anything, unfortunately.
That's been really difficult. Really difficult. Did Judy disappear?
No, I'm right.
Oh, there she is. Welcome.
Should I get in the corner since?
There, you guys, if you guys are comfortable sitting over there, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm working on getting the live up. It's hard when you do two shows, back to back like that because the one goes until 9 and then we've got to get set up. So the live is up on the Ghost Pit page. Jim, I believe you shared it to yours.
Yep.
So check them out, you guys. Pam, I'm assuming is mid moving right now. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's a lot cooler in the corner.
Yeah, well, and if she just happens to appear here, I'm gonna run home real quick. I'll pass the mic over to you guys. I'm gonna grab the equipment. I'll be back.
Okay.
That'd just really be weird, So, and I can't talk about anything until she gets back up here. Yep. There she is. See, that's what happens when you're live. You got bathroom breaks. You got to walk out of the room for a minute. You got to go move your car.
Make sure that I'm close enough to the mic.
Yes.
Oh.
You never know what's going to happen in the pit, you guys.
You all are
Whoa.
too young to remember Jackie Gleason and the Honeymooners.
I've watched reruns with my grandparents.
Okay, remember how Norton would do the...
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden drive Gleason crazy and he would finally yell at him?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was just doing.
Okay. A little TV history for you guys at home. And you thought it was a paranormal show. You're crazy.
They're all gone now, so it has to be.
Well, it could be.
Okay.
Not really sure what you're going to find in this place. There's been a lot. So we were just discussing, Pam, while you were moving your van.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with COVID going on, a lot of stuff's, kind of been down. Brunswick on the 5th next month is canceled because they're not reopening until the following weekend. So, that's been a recurring theme this year is, canceling this or reshuffling events to try and fit them in. And, once you get a schedule set, that's it. You can't, it's really hard to fit remakes in because you've already got a schedule set that you have to follow. So, we were just, saying a couple of the topics we wanted to talk about. We had to wait for, the van move. So now that you're here, we're going to start.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Go. Just kidding. The look on your face was good, though. All right, guys. See, you never know. It's been a weird week. It really, and now we got laughter going. We can't stop the laughing.
Jimmy was just saying the same thing. It's just been one of those weeks.
It has, and I don't know if it's the heat. I don't know if it's these meteors that, that was
Hi guys, we're outside.
I just heard a disembodied voice right here in the studio. You know what, we're just going to let this go, and we're going to let it, whatever we talk about, we talk about. How's everyone's animals? Just kidding. See the faces again. That was great.
My animals?
Sure.
Which one's live or dead?
I don't care.
I lost a cat.
You did?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Squirt was not... No, she left very quickly.
Mhm.
She's in the garden now, underneath.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How do you follow up with that? Jim, what do I say?
I have no
I don't either.
I just gave you the ball. It's in your court.
I'm throwing it out of bounds. So, last week, well, not last week, last show, one of the things that we were talking about was your video footage from the airplane, which you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys listening at home, here on the radio station, you guys live on the Ghost Pit page, I will post them tonight or tomorrow so you can actually watch it. And I thought it was very interesting. Video that people send you is always hard to dissect because you're not there. You're not in the moment. You don't know what's going on. But what I thought was interesting with that video is you can clearly see at a couple points the ground. You can see, the houses, and you can see the road, very small.
And you can see the clouds.
The clouds.
It was above the clouds, below the plane. And
Well,
it kept moving with it. It wasn't light.
It did, no.
And it was about 10 minutes, and I was sitting in the window seat. My friend was asleep next
Lucky
to
you.
me. And I tried to do that. And I looked out, and I saw this bright light there. And Pam another Pam, my friend, was asleep. And I figured, how am I going to... So I said, the phone. So I pulled the phone out. I took a couple of stills, but then I put it on the video and watched this. As I said, I felt like the Twilight episode of William Shatner looking out the plane and something's on the wing.
My favorite episode.
Yeah. And
Whose isn't?
and I showed it to my friends. And as I mentioned before, I have a friend who's in the aeronautic aspect of NASA, and I sent them to her for her people, and they didn't quite know what it was.
Well, what I thought was interesting, and I'll send it to you guys so you can see it before I post it. What I found was interesting is if you can make out the small landscape that's below the clouds as the plane's flying, yet you can't make out the light. If it was another plane, you'd have seen that just as it was what you were looking at on the ground.
And if it was a light reflection from something in the window in the plane, it wouldn't have done what it did.
It wouldn't have disappeared in the clouds. That's the other thing I found, absolutely amazing. The other part is 747s fly extremely fast. If I ever see a Cessna fly that fast, I want to know who built the thing, because they don't fly as fast as a commercial jet.
Right.
So for this thing to hover right along with a commercial jet is amazing.
I haven't looked at it for a while, but at one point it met up with 4 or 5 others, and then they went away and it kept on. And they were littler. They were smaller.
It's a very, very neat piece of footage. I will give you that.
It was from Atlanta to Galveston.
So I will put that up on the page, you guys, so you'll get to see that in the entirety. I'll put them all up, the picture. I think you sent me 2 or 3 pictures, 4 pictures and some videos. So, absolutely. Jim, one of the things that you put on your page last week, and thank you so much for doing it, because now I find myself taking screenshots every day, is the spirit numbers, the angel numbers.
Right. Cool.
I loved that post. Ooh, we got an ooh already.
I know that. I know them.
Already.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna like this one. So you put the post on, and people were commenting. They're angel numbers.
Right.
And I've got about 6,000 screenshots on my phone, taking screenshots every time I see mine. I mean, and it's been like clockwork. What made you decide to put that up there? Has people talked to you about that, or was it just something you thought about and thought, you know what, I'm gonna put it out there?
I scrolled it through, and one of our friends had shared it, so I said, "What the heck? I'll just see what mine comes up as." And I thought it was interesting because it almost hit the nail right on the head.
Right.
So I just shared it for everyone else to try.
Cool, Pam. What?
Angel numbers that I know of is if you see like 222 or 555. So this is basically a questionnaire asking you to define your own angel numbers.
Yeah, basically what it is it that one was take a picture of the time and then go and Google angel number or whatever the time would be.
Okay, like 555 or 111. My sister keeps seeing 333 and 555. And have you done much numerology?
I have not.
Okay, numerology is an absolutely fascinating subject to go into. And there are a number of good books out there. Dan Millman, who wrote the Warrior book, has a good book called The Life You Were Born to Live, where you take your birthday, your birth month, and your birth year, you total them up, and then you get a number, and you add it up. It goes from 1 to 9. And that there are certain characteristics for each number. And again, those also carry over to some of the angel numbers as well. Because so you see 555 is a number of change. The number 5 itself, 4 leads into change, 5 is change, and 6 is the next step of your life. 9 is the end and the beginning, and you go back to 1. So that's off topic, but it's the same type of thing. I'd love to see that app.
No, it's not off topic, because I'm sure somebody sitting at home is asking, asking their computer screen or their phone screen, what is it? Explain it. So no, you explained it.
Right. And see, mine's always been either like 111 or 1111.
It's one of the beginnings.
Right.
11 is also a master number. There are certain numbers that are master numbers, and 11 is one of them.
Cool. Judy, have you noticed any?
I've never done that, but my numbers, like my favorite number is 777. I believe in that because of the Bible. But my number has always been 8. So I've had people ask me, like, 8 is my number for some reason. So they've always asked me if I've ever had, like, a drastic change when I was 8 years old. And everything has actually went 8.
If you turn 8 sideways, it's in the infinity sign.
Infinity.
So it's there's no beginning and there's no end.
That's interesting. Never thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 5 minutes, Pam, everything you explained, the only thing that I knew and understood was the infinity sign.
Because I really think about my past. Okay, when I was 8, my house burnt down as a child. Okay, my first marriage only lasted 8 years. So everything my whole life has been 8. 888.
You might want to send a request in for a new number. Just saying. Just saying.
Well, me and Jimmy's over 14, so we're good.
Okay, change it. 14. Well, what I thought was really neat, because I was reading that post, and I was like, oh my God, I got to talk to him about this, because what's really neat is I always see 407. Now, obviously, 407 happens twice a day. 407 in the morning, 407 in the afternoon. But what was really cool is, by the time I would get to work, it would be right around 5 o'clock. And I'd go to my toolbox, I'd get my stuff set up for the day, and I'd go outside and I'd sit and relax. The clocks never got changed at work. So I would leave the house at 4:24, and I would call my mom and dad. Now, this story is really neat. I'd call my mom and dad every morning. I'd get to work. On my way outside, I'd look up at the clock, and because the clock was off, it was 4:07 again. Now, I'd get home 4:07. And again, I call my mom and dad every morning on my way to work. At the end of the day, I would see 14:07 on the clock. Military time. 4:07. Take a guess what my mom and dad's address is.
407.
407.
Oh, wow.
It's
so
really,
you've actually done the app?
It's really, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't, but
I would love to find out if the numbers come up.
Yeah, I've been watching this for a long time, and I take screenshots and I send them to Suzanne. I was like, oh, look at this. And my emails come up, 407. Just the other day, we hit 1,407 likes on our page, 407.
Right.
I took a screenshot, sent it to her. Said, look, what do you see? So, it's amazing when you stop and think outside the box what's really going on. So I loved that post. It really resonated with me. So thank you for putting that up there.
No problem.
You guys want to check that out? Where can they find that post?
I can share it to our page.
Okay, and your page?
Yep.
You want
I can share it there.
Let everybody know where they can go and find it.
Well, see, it's not an app.
No, but you're at least the post so they can go and find it.
Right.
What's your page?
Blazing Apparition Paranormal Investigations.
Cool. So you